Hey everyone, my name is Ngesihle Mkhize, aka Ingzara, but better known in the classroom as Miss Ingi. Today, we were joined by Tamara, a teacher who is actually based in the Middle East. She tells us a little bit about her journey and her story and how she became a teacher. She's got a really impactful story for us to listen into. So, may you be inspired by it as you listen into the story. Thank you so much, Tamara, for joining us on Inspiring Teachers and for willing to be a part of the blog to share your story. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
So my name is Tamara and I'm from India, specifically a place called Goa. I was actually born in Doha, and this is like home for me, and I've been working now as a teacher for the past 5 years over here.
Okay, wow, that's a long time to be already
really long time.
and you've actually grown up in the Middle East. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? Because you are a child who has grown up in the Middle East and is also teaching in the Middle East.
I think for me, whenever people hear me say I was born here, it's sort of like a surprise because they're like, wait, you're Indian, but you grew up here, and how was that? For me, I think it's just like any other person. This is home for me, and these things are so familiar. And so when I leave the place, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I miss my shawarma and things like that.
You miss the heat?
Miss the heat, most of all. But like, I think just growing up here, I think one of the advantages was meeting people. I got to meet so many different types of people and different nationalities, and so that sort of has helped me to open my mind and open a lot of opportunities in my life. So,
okay, that's actually great. And Tamara, can you tell us about growing up and how your journey began to becoming a teacher?
I think from the beginning, actually, I'd always wanted to be a teacher. I just liked the whole like look of it, just sort of like the whole look of it. But I think it started off as when I was young, I had a condition, and so it was very difficult. I had a lot of like challenges I had in terms of physically getting up and getting to school and things like that. And so for me, it started off as I just wanted someone to understand.
Okay.
Just to understand that, okay, if you're in pain, that's okay. You know, more than anything, it didn't have to be that they came to help, but just understand. And so it came from a place where I needed to say, you know what, I want to be able to understand a child.
Yeah.
You know, because there is not a child who doesn't go through something.
Yes.
You know, big or small. And so for me, it was like, now when I look at a child and I'm like, you know, there is something that's going on.
Definitely.
And so I want to reach out and try and understand them. And that's the way they open up as well, right? So I think.
So your journey began as a person who wanted to help other children feel and to be seen.
Yeah, right.
And as a child, you wanted to be seen.
Yeah.
Did your teachers see you, or did they not see you?
So I would say they were kind, but I don't think they ever tried to understand. I would say, because as much as they would have liked to, it's just that I felt overwhelmed most of the time. And I think specifically in the Indian system, it's a lot about grades.
Okay.
And it's a lot about how much you get. It's not about the quality, but the quantity of things. And so I was always measured by that standard. And so I always felt less. I always fell short of that. And so I used to always think like, oh, I'm dumb. I'd never, measured up to anything. And so I felt, you know what, I might as well just give up because I'm done.
You know, you speak about being, you also did homeschooling as well. So tell us a little bit about that. What was it like to be in a homeschooling system? Then you have to go to school and teachers are treating you like this, whereas at home you were treated very differently because obviously your parents know and understand what's going on with you. Can you tell us the experience behind that?
So it was, I think, after grade 1, I had gone to school and my mom took me out. For about 2 years I was homeschooled. During that time, actually, obviously mom was helping me out a lot and teaching me things. And obviously, I mean, it's amazing to be home, right? But I think in itself, it was just a time for me to like relax and just get a sense of, just to cope with what was happening to me. And I think, and what happened was my mom had a nursery, so there were other kids, but like I was the star, so I was like, I gotta be on top of this. But when after 2 years of homeschooling, I went back to school. It was hard because it was a lot of like, schedules, and because at home you wake up on your own, you have that relaxation. But even though I went back to school, my mom helped me a lot. She had, she was like, don't worry about it, I'm gonna be there for you. And so I think my mom has been my biggest support system. And I think truly, I give it out to all the parents.
Yeah.
It is a hard job.
Especially right now, we all know what it's like to be schooling, going to school at home, and homeschooling your children. It's very difficult. And so now you're in the schooling system, and you're trying to sort of endure, and you decided, okay, I would like to be a teacher. Then what happened?
So what happens is, in the Indian system, you have 3 streams to choose from, and so it was between science, commerce, between those two. And so I was like, what do I do? So I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to forget about this teacher thing, and I'm just going to do business. And so I got into that, and then I went to uni for that as well.
As a business person.
Yeah, like in terms of like to go and work in a corporate firm and things like that. And it was the last year, a friend of me there was this thing called Teach for India. It's a sister company of Teach for America. And so they were coming for recruiting in my university. And I remember thinking, why don't I try that out? And I was going to, but then I said, you know what, I would do more justice if I actually learned how to be a teacher and actually got those resources to be able to help kids. And so that's when I decided, you know what, I want to be a teacher.
Sure.
And then I came back here and I did a postgraduate certificate in education. Where what happens is, based on your knowledge of whatever you've done, so there were people who are bankers, who are veterinarians, they use this degree and their knowledge to turn teachers. And so I was like, this is perfect. And so then I interned in a school where I worked alongside a teacher.
So you're like an assistant.
Yeah. And she taught me as we went. And so that was the best experience, because I was just like absorbing everything. But in a way, you start to learn that you have your own personality as a teacher.
Yeah, you do.
As much as you're like, oh, I like that idea. You're like, no, but I might want to tweak it a bit.
Tweak it and do what I need to do.
And there's nothing wrong with trying to get ideas and use them.
And use them. That's lovely, Tamara. And what about now? Can you tell us about that experience of being in the mainstream and being in a special needs as a teacher? What does it require of you?
So when I started in the mainstream school, it was like my first sort of step into education, and so I was still sort of stumbling around. But I genuinely started to feel the love of teaching, and and I remember thinking to myself, do I ever want to get into special ed? And I was a little fearful at first. I was like, do I have what it takes to get into that? And if I do get into that, I have to go all in. And it was, I think, by the second year in the mainstream school, I was like, you know what, I have to take this chance.
Sure.
Because I want to learn, and there's so much to learn in special ed. And so I took that chance, and I started my master's in special ed, and I started working in the special ed school as well. And so for me, it was just amazing that I got that opportunity to do my master's and actually work alongside. I started as a substitute teacher.
Sure.
So I just went to different classes, picking up ideas, picking up opinions, and different resources. And so that's how I started being like, okay, this is what I'm doing now.
And what is it? What is it about the system? Obviously in a mainstream school there's a different system, and in a special needs school there's a different system. So what is it about special needs that you as a teacher feel like you enjoy?
So when I started off in the special needs school, as I said, I started beginning just to go to different classes. I think one of the things was that I saw how each teacher was dealing with a challenge, or dealing with behaviors, or dealing with anything. Because on the outside, or to anyone else, it would look like this is impossible.
Yeah.
But once they started breaking down barriers, it was about breaking down the kids' barriers, breaking down things that they were holding on to.
Yeah.
And once you break that down and actually get close to the child, they start to open up and be like, you know what, miss, I'm sad. And so for me, I think it was just watching other people and how they work.
Yeah.
And truly, even up until now, I literally might go into a class and be like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. But I think a lot of times special needs has a sort of stigma behind it up until now. But I truly say, these children are more than capable. They're more than able, and to be able to sideline them or keep them to the sidelines is sad because they can be so much more.
They could be in a mainstream school where teachers really understand, but it's also important, I think, for them to have teachers who know how to deal with behavioral issues, with the issues that they have. And I like that because you also experienced that in your own schooling system where you wanted to be seen, and these children also want to be seen as well in the same sort of regard, where it's come full circle for you. And so Tamara, if you had any advice, so for any teachers around the world, somebody's becoming a teacher, somebody who is thinking of becoming a teacher, what advice would you give them?
I think one of the things is that just to go for it. If you have a heart for it, like even just the slightest thing, like should I go into that? And sometimes I would just say maybe ask if you can go into a school and just sort of observe a class and say can I do this? But just go for it. Because it is truly, I mean, I know sometimes people are like, do you really love your job? But I love it. Yeah. Because it's hard, but I love it. Just going back every day and learning new things. So I would just say, go for it, try it out. You never know what can happen from that.
Of course. Thank you, Tamara. This is amazing. We've loved having Tamara speak about her story. I think that she's actually a person who's very quiet, but has so much to offer us. I took out from this interview that no matter what happens to you, you always need to go for your dreams, go for the things that you've wanted the most. And very importantly, something that I took away is you said in the beginning that you went to a mainstream school, then you went out to homeschooling, but you knew that you had to go back into the schooling system for you to overcome things. And I think it's so important for others to know that you need to be able to overcome things, and you need to actually be able to move in overcoming those things that you face in life.
Coming out of your comfort zone.
And coming out of that comfort zone. And I hope that people can be inspired by your story to know that they can also overcome things and be resilient people going forward. So thank you so much.